Okay, so we start our discussion with our new topic, which is the complex numbers. So we are done with Laplace transforms. So complex numbers is the number of the form z is equal to x plus yi, where I squared is equal to -1, and x and y are real numbers. So, ibig sabihin, if I squared is equal to -1, therefore, I is equal to square root of -1. That's why if you try to solve using your calculators tapos nagpakita is syntax error, ibig sabihin meron tayong negative integer doon sa ating square root sign, doon sa ating radical. Okay? So, ito ngayon yung form ng ating complex number, x plus yi. So, x is called the real part of z, ito, and then y is called the imaginary part of z. Imaginary na kapag merong ganito sa inyong numbers. Okay, so for example, x squared plus 1 is equal to 0. If you try to find the value of x, syempre itra-transpose mo si positive 1 to the right side, so magiging -1. And since x yung hinahanap mo na variable, kailangan mo siyang i-square root to cancel yung exponent na 2. So if we cancel si exponent na 2, kung ano yung ginawa mo dito sa left side, ganun din yung gawin mo sa right side. So, kailangan mo ring i-square root si -1. And then, since I is equal to -1, therefore, your x is equal to positive or negative I. Kasi 'di ba kapag nag-square root ka, the result will always be positive or negative. That's why ganyan yung value ng x natin. And another example, we have x squared plus 16 equal to 0. Transpose 16 to the right side and then square root mo sila to cancel the square here. Okay, so our x is equal to square root of -16. We can write this to square root of -1. Yan. Square root of -1. Wait lang. Erase lang natin yan. And then, okay, so we can rewrite this as square root of -1 times square root of 16. And we all know that square root of 16 is equal to, this is equal to 4. That's why our final answer would be positive -4. So this will be equal to positive -4i, since square root of -1 is equal to I. So that is a complex number. Those are the examples of complex numbers. So powers of I. Okay. Gaya ng sinabi natin kanina, when we say I, sa ibang libro ang ginagamit na uh, complex number symbol or denotation is J. So, okay lang yon. Okay? I and J are interchangeably used. So, our I is equal to square root of -1. For our I squared, this is equal to -1. Kasi if you try to square this one, magka-cancel yung square root niya, and then matitira will be -1. How about I cube? So, yung I cube natin is I times I times I. And we all know that I squared, oh yan, breakdown natin, I squared times I. And I squared is equal to -1. So, this will be equal to negative I. Tama? And then, I raised to 4 is equal to, yan, I squared times I squared. And we all know that I squared is equal to -1. So, -1 times -1 is +1. Let's try I raised to 5. I raised to 5, pwede nating i-denote na I cube times I squared. And I cube is equal to -I. Yan, -I. And I squared is equal to -1. So, if you multiply this one, the result will be +I. Okay. Positive I na tayo. And then, let's try si I raised to 6. So, pwedeng I cube times I cube. This will be equal to, since I cube is equal to negative I, that is negative I times negative I, or negative I squared. And this will be equal to negative I squared is, that is positive I squared. And we all know that positive I squared is equal to negative 1. So this is negative 1. We try I raised to 7. I raised to 7 can be break down to I raised to 4 times I raised to 3. I raised to 4 is known to be 1 multiplied by I raised to 3, that is negative I. So our I raised to 7 is equal to negative I. Okay? So if you look at the results, magkakaroon tayo ng pattern. So from negative I, this is I, diba? So from I to 1. I negative 1, negative I 1. I negative 1, negative I. So, from the pattern dito, parang ang susunod na result will be 1. But let's still try. So, I raised to 8 is equal to, pwede siyang I raised to 4 times I raised to 4. And I raised to 4 is equal to 1. So this is 1 times 1. And the result is 1. So every 4, every exponent is 4, magiging 1 yung result natin. So let's try tong pattern na to dito sa example sa next slide. So we have I raised to 2307. So kung mano-mano yung isosolve mo, syempre matagal-tagal yan. But let's try yung pattern na solve natin. So, si exponent mo, i-divide mo by 4. So, divided by 4. So, if you try to divide this will be equal to 5. And then 20. 3, bring down 0. That is 7. 28. And then 27. Tapos 6. 24. You have a remainder of 3. Ibig sabihin, this will be equal to 1. Tama? I raised to this one is equal to 1. And then, i-multiply mo ngayon si I raised to 3. So, our answer will be equal to I raised to 3. So, that is how you solve the value of the complex number given the solution and the pattern na nabuo natin kanina. So, yung pattern will be I. Next is negative 1. Next is negative I. And then 1. So, every 4, i-divide mo lang sa 4 yung exponent natin and you will get the answer easily without manually solving. Okay? So, that is the introduction to complex numbers. So the next discussion will be operations and general form of complex numbers.